Alexander Alexandrovich Alekhine was a Russian and French chess player born on October 31, 1892, who became the fourth world chess champion and remains the only champion to have died while holding the title. His exceptional talent was evident early on, as he had established himself among the world's strongest players by age 22. The 1920s marked a pivotal period in Alekhine's life and career. After leaving Soviet Russia in 1921, he emigrated to France, which he would represent internationally after 1925. His tournament success during this decade was remarkable, winning most events he entered. His greatest triumph came in 1927 when he defeated José Raúl Capablanca to claim the World Chess Championship. Alekhine's dominance continued into the early 1930s, with impressive tournament victories and outstanding performances representing France in 5 chess Olympiads, where he earned 4 medals and a Brilliancy Prize. He successfully defended his title against F.M. Bogolubov in both 1929 and 1934. Though he offered Capablanca a rematch under the same stringent conditions previously set for him, negotiations proved fruitless. His reign was briefly interrupted in 1935 when Max Euwe defeated him, but Alekhine reclaimed the title in their 1937 rematch. Despite this success, his later tournament results became inconsistent as emerging talents like Paul Keres, Ruben Fine, and Mikhail Botovinich posed new challenges. World War II interrupted potential title matches in 1939, and while negotiations with Botovinich were underway in 1946, Alekhine died under unclear circumstances in Portugal. As a player, Alekhine was renowned for combining fierce attacking play with sophisticated positional understanding and endgame expertise. His contributions to chess extend beyond his playing career, as he was also an accomplished writer and theoretician. His innovative work in chess openings led to several variations bearing his name, most notably Alekhine's Defense. Additionally, he contributed to chess theory through his endgame studies, leaving a lasting legacy in multiple aspects of the game. Early life. Alekhine's privileged background significantly shaped his early life. Born on October 31, 1892, in Moscow, Russia, he was raised in an affluent family with strong political connections. His father, Alexander Ivanovich Alekhine, held the prestigious position of Privy Councillor to the conservative Fourth Duma and was a successful landowner. His mother, Anisha Ivanovna Alekhine, née Prokhorova, came from considerable wealth herself, being the daughter of a prominent industrialist. Chess became a part of Alekhine's life through the influence of his family members, particularly his mother and his siblings, Alexei and Varvara, who introduced him to the game. This privileged upbringing provided Alekhine with the resources and opportunities that would later help him develop into a world-class chess player. Early chess career, 1902 to 1914. Alexander Alekhine's chess career began remarkably early, with his first recorded game taking place in a correspondence chess tournament starting December 3, 1902. When he was just 10 years old. Between 1902 and 1911, he actively participated in various correspondence tournaments organized by the chess magazine Shakhmatno Obosreni. His transition to over-the-board chess came in 1907 when he competed in the Moscow Chess Club's spring tournament. That same year, he placed in the lower ranks of the club's autumn tournament, while his brother Alexei achieved a higher position. The young Alekhine's talent became increasingly evident as he won the Moscow Chess Club Spring Tournament in 1908 at age 15, followed by a victory in the All-Russian Amateur Tournament in St. Petersburg in 1909. His development as a player showed steady progress as he participated in increasingly challenging tournaments, including events outside Russia. Though his early results were mixed, by age 16 he had established himself among Russia's chess elite. His growing reputation led to him representing prestigious chess clubs in team matches, including playing first board in matches between St. Petersburg and Moscow chess clubs in 1911 and 1912. A significant turning point came when Alekhine relocated to St. Petersburg in 1911 to attend the Imperial Law School for Nobles. His chess career flourished in his new home, where he became the strongest player in the St. Petersburg Chess Society. His dominance was demonstrated through victories in the St. Petersburg Chess Club Winter Tournament and the first category tournament in 1912. His breakthrough came in January 1914 when he shared first place with Aaron Nimcevich in the All-Russian Masters Tournament at St. Petersburg, although their subsequent mini-match for first prize ended in a draw with each player winning one game. During this period, Alekhine also engaged in numerous individual matches, and while his early results were inconsistent, he eventually developed into a consistently strong performer. Top-level Grandmaster, 1914 to 1927. In the spring of 1914, Alekhine achieved a significant milestone in his career at the prestigious St. Petersburg tournament, securing third place behind chess legends Emmanuel Oscar and José Raúl Capablanca. This tournament was particularly noteworthy as it marked Alekhine's emergence as a serious contender for the World Chess Championship. There are historical accounts suggesting that Tsar Nicholas II bestowed the title of Grand Master of Chess upon the five finalists: Lasker, Capablanca, Alekhine, Zygmunt Tarrasch, and Frank Marshall, though this claim has been debated by chess historians. Regardless of the formal recognition, Alekhine's exceptional performance in this tournament established him as a grandmaster in both practical achievement and public perception. His rising status in the chess world was further confirmed when he tied for first place with Frank Marshall in Paris in July 1914. This succession of strong results demonstrated that the young Russian had evolved from a promising talent into one of the world's elite players, capable of competing with and succeeding against the greatest players of his era. World War I and post-revolutionary Russia. The outbreak of World War I in 1914 dramatically interrupted Alekhine's rising chess career. At the time, he was leading an international tournament in Mannheim, Germany, with an impressive score. However, the declaration of war led to the internment of several Russian players, including Alekhine, in Rastatt, Germany. Fortunately, Alekhine was among the first group of players released in September 1914, and he managed to make his way back to Russia through a circuitous route by the end of October. Upon his return to Russia, Alekhine demonstrated his commitment to the chess community by giving simultaneous exhibitions to raise funds for Russian players still interned in Germany. He continued to play chess successfully in Russia, winning the Moscow Chess Club Championship in December 1915 and a mini-match in Kiev in April 1916. During this period, he also served with the Red Cross on the Austrian front, showing his patriotic commitment during wartime. The tumultuous years following the Russian Revolution brought both danger and opportunity for Alekhine. In 1918, he won a tournament in Moscow, but the following year he faced a serious threat to his life. In June 1919, during the Russian Civil War, Alekhine was arrested in Odessa by the Cheka, Soviet state security, on suspicion of having links with White Movement counterintelligence. He was briefly held in a death cell, and rumors of his execution even circulated in the West. Despite these challenges, Alekhine managed to survive this perilous period and continue his chess career. His experiences during World War I and the Russian Revolution not only tested his resilience, but also shaped his future decisions, including his eventual emigration from Soviet Russia. These events provide context for understanding Alekhine's later life choices and his complex relationship with his homeland. 1920 to 1927. After the Russian Civil War, Alekhine's chess prowess continued to shine. In 1920, he demonstrated his dominance by winning the Moscow Championship with a perfect score of 11-11, though he wasn't officially declared champion due to residency rules. He followed this with victory in the All-Russian Chess Olympiad, later recognized as the first USSR championship, where he achieved an impressive score of +9 - 6, while his brother Alexei placed third in the amateur section. This period also marked significant personal changes in Alekhine's life. His first marriage to Alexandra Batayeva in March 1920 was brief, ending in divorce the following year. While working as an interpreter for the Communist International, he met and married Swiss journalist Anneliese Rüegg in March 1921. This marriage facilitated his departure from Russia, though he soon left his second wife in Paris and moved to Berlin, never to return to his homeland. Between 1921 and 1927, Alekhine established himself as one of the world's elite players, winning or sharing first place in approximately two-thirds of his tournaments. He also competed in several mini-matches, winning most of them. However, his results against top rivals showed occasional vulnerability, particularly at Vienna 1922 and New York 1924, where he placed third behind players like Lasker and Capablanca. During this period, Alekhine's primary ambition was to challenge Capablanca for the World Championship. The main obstacle was the requirement to raise $10,000 for the match, as stipulated in the 1922 London rules. To accumulate this sum, Alekhine toured extensively, giving simultaneous exhibitions and setting world records for blindfold chess, including playing against 28 opponents simultaneously in Paris in 1925. Simultaneously, Alekhine was establishing himself in France, pursuing legal studies at the Sorbonne and applying for French citizenship. Despite initial complications due to his frequent travel and suspicions about his Soviet connections, he finally gained French citizenship in November 1927, coinciding with his World Championship match against Capablanca in Buenos Aires. During this time, he also married his third wife, Nadezhda Vasilyev, the widow of a Russian general. His professional success continued with tournament victories, including a win in Buenos Aires in 1926 and a match victory over Max Euwe, 5.5-4.5, in late 1926/early 1927. These achievements helped establish him as a serious contender for the World Championship, which he would eventually win later in 1927. World Chess Champion, first reign, 1927 to 1935. 1927 title match. The year 1927 marked a pivotal moment in chess history when Alekhine challenged José Raúl Capablanca for the World Championship in Buenos Aires. The match was made possible through the support of Argentine businessmen and the country's president, who provided the substantial financial guarantee required. The historic contest, organized by the Argentine Chess Club, ran from September 16 to November 29, 1927, and would remain the longest formal World Championship match until the Karpov-Kasparov encounter in 1984. Alekhine's victory, with a score of +6-3 = 25, stunned the chess world since he had never previously won a single game against Capablanca. The outcome was so unexpected that even Alekhine himself, reflecting after Capablanca's death, admitted his surprise at the result, acknowledging that he hadn't considered himself superior to his opponent at the time. The contrasting preparation of the two players proved crucial to the match's outcome. While Capablanca approached the match with minimal technical or physical preparation, Alekhine prepared meticulously on both fronts. He got himself into excellent physical condition and conducted extensive analysis of Capablanca's playing style. According to later analysis by Garry Kasparov, Alekhine's detailed study revealed numerous small inaccuracies in Capablanca's play, which stemmed from the champion's tendency to rely on his natural talent rather than deep concentration. Vladimir Kramnik later noted that this was the first competition where Capablanca couldn't secure any easy victories, highlighting the effectiveness of Alekhine's preparation and strategy. Rematch offered, never finalized. The aftermath of the 1927 World Championship match revealed the complex relationship between Alekhine and Capablanca. Immediately after claiming the title, Alekhine demonstrated a sense of fairness by offering Capablanca a rematch under the same conditions that Capablanca had previously demanded as champion, including the substantial $10,000 stake requirement, with the champion receiving more than half even if defeated. However, what followed was a lengthy and ultimately unsuccessful period of negotiations that spanned several years. Despite seemingly coming close to agreement multiple times, the discussions repeatedly broke down. The relationship between the two chess giants deteriorated significantly during this period, with Alekhine escalating tensions by demanding unusually high appearance fees for tournaments where Capablanca was also scheduled to play. The highly anticipated rematch never materialized, and the bitterness between the two players persisted. After Capablanca's death in 1942, Alekhine's perspective on their history took a controversial turn when he suggested that Capablanca's original $10,000 stake requirement had been deliberately set to discourage challengers. This posthumous criticism added a final complex layer to what had become one of chess history's most famous rivalries. Defeats Bogolubov twice in title matches. Following his 1927 World Championship victory, Alekhine defended his title twice against Efim Bogolubov, in 1929 and 1934. These matches, while significant, were not the highly anticipated rematch with Capablanca that many chess enthusiasts had hoped for. The first title defense took place from September to November 1929, with games played across multiple European cities including Wiesbaden, Heidelberg, Berlin, The Hague, and Amsterdam. Alekhine retained his title convincingly, with a final score of +11-5 = 9. This decisive victory affirmed Alekhine's strength as the world champion. 5 years later, from April to June 1934, Alekhine faced Bogolubov again in a match spanning 12 German cities. Once more, Alekhine emerged victorious, this time with a score of +8-3 = 15. This second defense further solidified Alekhine's reign as world champion. It's worth noting that by the time of these matches, particularly the 1929 contest, Bogolubov was already 40 years old and potentially past his prime. This factor may have contributed to Alekhine's relatively comfortable victories. Nonetheless, these matches were important in chess history, as they represented Alekhine's successful defenses of his world title and demonstrated his continued dominance in the chess world during this period. The absence of a rematch with Capablanca, despite these two title defenses against Bogolubov, remained a point of controversy and speculation in the chess community. Alekhine's willingness to defend his title against Bogolubov, while negotiations with Capablanca remained fruitless, added to the complex narrative surrounding Alekhine's reign as world champion. Anti-Bolshevik statements, controversy. The aftermath of Alekhine's world championship victory had significant political repercussions, particularly regarding his relationship with the Soviet Union. Upon returning to Paris after his triumph, Alekhine made public statements criticizing Bolshevism, which prompted a swift and severe response from Soviet authorities. Nikolai Krylenko, who headed the Soviet Chess Federation, issued an official memorandum declaring Alekhine an enemy of the Soviet state. This declaration led to a complete severance of ties between Alekhine and the Soviet Chess Federation, an isolation that would last until the late 1930s. The political fallout also had painful personal consequences, most notably affecting Alekhine's relationship with his elder brother Alexei. Despite their previously close bond, Alexei publicly denounced both his brother and Alexander's anti-Soviet statements. However, historians have suggested that Alexei's public repudiation may not have been entirely voluntary, given the political climate in the Soviet Union at the time. This episode illustrates the complex intersection of chess, politics, and personal relationships during this turbulent period, and how Alekhine's political statements affected not only his own standing but also that of his family members remaining in the Soviet Union. Early 1930s. Alexander Alekhine's dominance in chess continued well into the 1930s, as noted by Reuben Fine. His tournament performances during this period were particularly impressive, with standout victories at San Remo in 1930, where he finished 3.5 points ahead of Nimzovich, and at Bled in 1931, where he led Bogo Lubov by 5.5 points. These victories, along with numerous other outright tournament wins, solidified his status as the world's premier chess player. Alekhine's success extended to team events as well. From 1930 to 1935, he represented France on the first board at 4 chess Olympiads, earning individual accolades including gold medals at Prague, 1931, and Folkestone, 1933, and a silver medal at Warsaw, 1935. His loss to Latvian master Hermanis Matysons at the 1931 Prague Olympiad was particularly noteworthy, as it marked his first defeat in a serious chess event since becoming world champion. During this period, Alekhine also embarked on extensive world tours, giving simultaneous exhibitions across the globe, from Hawaii to the Dutch East Indies. In July 1933, he set a new world record by playing against 32 opponents blindfolded simultaneously in Chicago. However, this period of professional triumph was also marked by personal changes and challenges. In 1934, Alekhine married his fourth wife, Grace Freeman, a British citizen 16 years his senior. More concerningly, it was around this time, particularly from 1933 onwards according to Reuben Fine, that Alekhine's increasing alcohol consumption became noticeable. Hans Mock observed that Alekhine's heavy drinking had begun during the 1931 Bled tournament and continued through his 1934 World Championship match with Bogo Lubov. This developing issue with alcohol would later have significant impacts on both his chess career and personal life. Loss of the world title, 1935 to 1937. In 1933, Alekhine issued a championship challenge to Max Euwe, who was considered one of 3 credible challengers alongside Capablanca and Floir. Before their 1935 match, Capablanca famously characterized Alekhine's style as 20% bluff while describing Euwe's approach as clear and straightforward, though perhaps not as strong as Alekhine's in certain aspects. Euwe himself noted their even head-to-head record of 7-7 over the previous decade. The World Championship match began on October 3, 1935, in Zandvoort, Netherlands, marking the first title match to officially employ seconds, Salo Landau for Alekhine and Geza Maroczy for Euwe. Despite taking an early lead, Alekhine's performance declined significantly after the 13th game, and Euwe ultimately claimed victory on December 16, 1935, with a score of 9 wins, 13 draws, and 8 losses. This upset victory shocked the chess world. While some attributed Alekhine's defeat to alcohol consumption, Hans Kmock noted he began drinking midway through the match. Others, like Salo Floir, believed overconfidence was a more significant factor. Later world champions, including Smyslov, Spassky, Karpov, and Kasparov, analyzed the match and concluded that Euwe's victory was well-deserved and the play was of world championship caliber. Following his title loss, Alekhine reportedly abstained from alcohol for 5 years and maintained an active tournament schedule. His results during the 18 months after losing the title were mixed. He shared first places at Bad Nauheim, with Curies, Dresden, and Amsterdam quadrangular, with Landau, and achieved victory at the Hastings New Year Tournament, 1936-37. However, he also had notable lower finishes at prestigious events like Nottingham 1936, where he placed 6th, and Kemmerai 1937, where he tied for 4th. This period showed Alekhine still competing at a high level but with more inconsistent results than during his dominant years as champion. World Chess Champion, Second Reign, 1937-1946. 1937-1939. The late 1930s marked a significant period in Alekhine's career, beginning with his successful reclamation of the World Championship from Max Euwe in December 1937. The match, held in the Netherlands with fines seconding Euwe and Iliskasas assisting Alekhine, resulted in a decisive victory for Alekhine, plus 10-4=11. While the match started competitively, Euwe's collapse in the final games, losing 4 out of 5, sealed his fate. This would prove to be Alekhine's final title match. 1938 started promisingly for Alekhine with victories at Montevideo and Margate, and a shared first place at Plymouth. However, his performance at the prestigious Avro tournament in the Netherlands was disappointing, as he tied for 4th-6th place behind emerging stars Kieries, Fine, and Botvinnik. This tournament's format, which involved playing in multiple Dutch cities, was particularly challenging for older players. The post-Avro period saw 2 significant championship challenges emerge. Botvinnik, who finished 3rd in Avro, and tournament winner Kieries both challenged Alekhine. Initial negotiations with both players were promising, with Botvinnik agreeing to a $10,000 prize fund and specific preparation conditions. However, World War II interrupted both sets of negotiations. The outbreak of war coincided with Alekhine's participation in the 8th Chess Olympiad in Buenos Aires in 1939, where he won the individual silver medal behind Capablanca. He followed this with perfect scores in tournaments in Montevideo, 7/7, and Caracas, 10/10. During this period, there were also discussions about a potential World Championship rematch with Capablanca, supported by Latin American financial pledges. While Alekhine was optimistic about the match's prospects, Capablanca expressed concerns about the financial requirements. Tentative plans were made for a match in Buenos Aires in April 1940, though the required $10,000 purse was never deposited. This period effectively marked the end of an era in chess, as the outbreak of World War II would dramatically alter the landscape of international chess competition and prevent several potentially historic matches from taking place. World War II, 1939-1945. After the 1939 Chess Olympiad in Buenos Aires, Alekhine, unlike many other participants, decided to return to Europe in January 1940, despite the ongoing World War II. This decision would significantly impact the trajectory of his life and career. Upon his return, Alekhine initially made a brief stop in Portugal before enlisting in the French army as a sanitation officer, demonstrating his commitment to his adopted country. However, the rapid fall of France to Nazi Germany in June 1940 forced Alekhine to flee to Marseille in southern France. Facing an uncertain future in war-torn Europe, Alekhine attempted to leave for the United States. He traveled to Lisbon, Portugal, with the intention of applying for an American visa. When this plan didn't materialize, he then sought permission to enter Cuba in October 1940. As part of this request, he offered to play a chess match with Capablanca, likely hoping that his status as a chess celebrity would help his case. However, this application was also denied. These events highlight the difficult and precarious situation Alekhine found himself in during the early stages of World War II. As a Russian-born French citizen and world-famous chess player, he was caught in the complex geopolitical landscape of wartime Europe, struggling to find a safe haven. His attempts to leave Europe and potentially continue his chess career in the Americas were unsuccessful, leaving him to navigate the challenging circumstances in Europe during the war years. Relationship with Nazi Germany. During World War II, Alekhine's activities and relationships with Nazi Germany became a subject of significant historical interest and controversy. A particularly contentious issue is his alleged authorship of anti-Semitic propaganda pieces. While writing style analysis suggests he may have written these materials willingly, Alekhine himself denied these allegations in written correspondence. Some historians suggest that Alekhine's cooperation with the Nazis was motivated by a desire to protect his wife Grace and her French assets, including a castle near Dieppe that was ultimately looted by the Nazis. During this period, Alekhine participated in numerous tournaments organized by Erhard Post, who led the Nazi-controlled Großdeutscher Schachbund. He wasn't alone in this. Other strong masters in Nazi-occupied Europe, including Kieries and Bogolubov, also participated in these events. Between 1941 and 1943, Alekhine maintained an active tournament schedule in Nazi-controlled territories. In 1941, he tied for second-third with London in Munich's Europaturnier, shared first with Schmidt in Krakow/Warsaw, and won in Madrid. The following year, he won tournaments in Salzburg and Munich, the latter dubbed European Championship by the Nazis, as well as in Warsaw/Lublin/Krakow, and tied for first with Klaus Junge in Prague. In 1943, he drew a mini-match with Bogolubov in Warsaw, won in Prague, and tied for first with Curies in Salzburg. By late 1943, Alekhine relocated to Spain and Portugal, serving as the German representative at chess events, which also helped him avoid the advancing Soviet forces. His final years, 1944 to 1946, were spent primarily in the Iberian Peninsula, where he continued to compete in various tournaments and matches. During this period, he took an interest in young chess prodigy Arturo Pomar, dedicating a section of his final book, Legato. 1946, to him. Their notable encounter at Gijón 1944 resulted in a draw, a remarkable achievement for the 12-year-old Pomar. Final year and death. The final years of Alekhine's life were marked by isolation and controversy. Following World War II, his alleged Nazi affiliations led to his exclusion from chess tournaments outside Spain and Portugal. This ostracism was most notably demonstrated when his invitation to the London 1946 tournament was withdrawn after other competitors protested. Alekhine's death on March 24, 1946, in his hotel room in Estoril, Portugal, remains shrouded in mystery. While he was actively planning a world championship match against Butovinnik at the time, he died unexpectedly at age 53. The circumstances of his death continued to be debated. Although officially attributed to a heart attack, evidence from a witness to the autopsy, published in Chess Life magazine, indicated that he actually choked on a 3-inch piece of unchewed meat found blocking his windpipe. Several alternative theories about his death have emerged over the years. Some have suggested he was murdered by a French death squad, while his son, Alexander Alekhine Jr., later implied Soviet involvement, stating that the hand of Moscow reached his father. Canadian Grandmaster Kevin Spraggett, who has conducted extensive research into Alekhine's death while living in Portugal, supports the theory of foul play. Spraggett argues that the Portuguese secret police PDA manipulated both the crime scene and autopsy, suggesting that Alekhine was actually murdered outside his hotel room, possibly by Soviet agents. FIDE sponsored Alekhine's burial, and in 1956, his remains were transferred to the Cimetière du Montparnasse in Paris, France. Even his final resting place faced adversity when a cyclone on December 26, 1999, caused significant damage to his gravestone, toppling and shattering the headstone monument. The damaged memorial was subsequently restored, preserving the memory of this controversial but undeniably brilliant chess champion. Assessment: playing strength and style. Alexander Alekhine's chess career was marked by periods of extraordinary success, particularly in the early 1930s when he dominated tournaments, often winning by significant margins. However, his performance declined after 1934, and he never won another top-class tournament after that year. Even after regaining the world title in 1937, Alekhine faced several emerging contenders who posed serious challenges to his reign. Alekhine was renowned for his attacking style and his ability to create complex combinations seemingly at will. What set him apart was his unique talent for seeing attacking potential in positions where others saw nothing remarkable. Rudolf Spielmann, a master tactician himself, acknowledged Alekhine's superior ability to reach positions conducive to combinations. Dr. Max Uwa praised Alekhine's creative genius, while Richard Reddy attributed Alekhine's success to his deep analysis of seemingly innocuous move sequences. Despite his reputation as an attacking player, Garry Kasparov noted that Alekhine's aggressive play was built on solid positional foundations. Harry Golombek went further, describing Alekhine as the most versatile chess genius, excelling in all styles and phases of the game. His games have the highest percentage of wins among all world champions, and his drawn games are typically among the longest. Alekhine's influence extended beyond his own era. Bobby Fischer, while not considering Alekhine a personal hero, recognized his profound imagination and ability to see deeply into complex positions. Garry Kasparov cited Alekhine as having the greatest influence on his own play, admiring his universality and approach to the game. In 2012, Levon Aronian even declared Alekhine the greatest chess player of all time. Alekhine's legacy in chess is characterized by his innovative and daring play, his ability to create art from seemingly ordinary positions, and his lasting influence on future generations of chess players. His contributions to chess theory and his numerous brilliancies continue to be studied and admired by chess enthusiasts and professionals alike. Influence on the game. Alekhine's influence on chess theory is evident in the numerous openings and variations that bear his name. The most famous is Alekhine's defense, 1. E4 and F6, but his name is also attached to variations in many other openings, including the French defense, Budapest Gambit, Vienna game, Roy Lopez, Sicilian defense, Queen's Gambit accepted, Slav defense, Queen's Pawn game, Catalan opening, and Dutch defense. As Irving Chernev humorously noted, the openings consist of Alekhine's games, with a few variations. Beyond his practical contributions to opening theory, Alekhine also composed endgame studies and wrote extensively about chess. He authored over 20 books, primarily focusing on annotated games from major matches and tournaments, including collections of his best games from 1908 to 1937. Unlike some of his contemporary world champions such as Steinitz, Lasker, Capablanca, and Uwa, Alekhine's books were aimed at expert players rather than beginners. His writing style emphasized detailed analysis of variations in critical positions rather than general principles, reflecting his preference for examining exceptional cases over establishing general rules. Despite being declared an enemy of the Soviet Union in 1928 following his anti-Bolshevik statements, Alekhine's legacy underwent a rehabilitation process in Soviet chess circles after his death in 1946. Alexander Kotov's biographical research on Alekhine led to the establishment of the Alekhine Memorial Tournaments, with the first event in Moscow in 1956 being jointly won by Botvinnik and Smyslov. Soviet chess authorities, including Kotov and Yudovich, came to praise Alekhine as Russia's greatest player, particularly admiring his tactical prowess and initiative in opening play. Botvinnik acknowledged that the Soviet school of chess learned from Alekhine's fighting spirit, self-critical approach, and combative vision. Alekhine himself articulated his chess philosophy by emphasizing three key elements: self-knowledge, understanding of one's opponent's strengths and weaknesses, and the pursuit of artistic and scientific accomplishments that elevated chess to the level of other arts. This comprehensive approach to chess continues to influence players and theorists to this day. Accusations of improving games. While Alekhine's brilliance as a chess player is undisputed, there have been controversies regarding the authenticity of some of his published games. Samuel Reshevsky made the serious allegation that Alekhine fabricated games against fictional opponents, publishing these victories in chess magazines. Chess historian Andy Soltis has documented what he calls Alekhine's 15 improvements, referring to instances where published versions of games differed from their actual play. One of the most famous examples is the Five Queens game, supposedly played in Moscow in 1915. While Alekhine did win a real game against Grigoriev in the Moscow 1915 tournament playing as black, he later published a significantly different version where white wins with 5 queens on the board. In this published version, he neither identified the players nor mentioned it was from the tournament. Modern computer analysis has shown that while white can force a win in the position, it requires a different move sequence than Alekhine suggested and involves only 3 queens, not 5. Another controversial case involves a game Alekhine allegedly won in 15 moves with a queen sacrifice at Sabathal in 1945. Edward Winter's investigation uncovered photographs of the actual game in progress, showing board positions that were incompatible with the published version of the game. While this discovery suggests the published version was fabricated, there is no direct evidence that Alekhine himself was responsible for the fabrication, and it's confirmed that he did win the actual game, albeit differently. These controversies add a complex dimension to Alekhine's legacy, suggesting that his desire to create beautiful chess may have occasionally led him to embellish or alter game records. However, these instances don't diminish his genuine achievements and brilliant play in documented tournament and match games. Accusations of anti-Semitism. During World War II, Alekhine's actions and writings created a complex and controversial legacy that continues to be debated. At the center of this controversy were several anti-Semitic articles published under his name in the German-controlled Pariser Zeitung in 1941, along with similar views attributed to him in Spanish and Czech media interviews in 1941–42. These publications criticized Jewish chess, praised Aryan chess, and made disparaging remarks about Jewish players and theorists. After Paris's liberation, Alekhine claimed the Pariser Zeitung articles were manipulated by the Germans, insisting he had only written purely scientific chess articles to obtain an exit visa. He issued at least 3 differently worded denials of authorship, including an open letter to the 1946 London tournament organizer, and in his posthumous book, Legato. The authenticity of these articles remains a subject of scholarly debate. Chess writer Jacques Lemonnier provided contradictory accounts, claiming in 1986 that he had seen the articles in Alekhine's handwriting, but earlier stating in 1973 that the truth about their authorship would never be known. Chess historian Edward Winter noted that misspellings of chess masters' names in the articles could be interpreted in multiple ways, as evidence of forgery, as coercion signals from Alekhine, or simply as typesetting errors. However, considerable evidence exists suggesting Alekhine was not personally anti-Semitic. In 1919, Jewish master Yaakov Vilner saved him from execution by the Cheka. He collaborated professionally with several Jewish chess figures, including Charles Jaffe for his world championship match against Capablanca and Dutch Jewish master Salo Landau, who served as his second in 1935. He maintained friendly relationships with Jewish players like Arnold Denker, gave chess lessons to young Jewish prodigy Gerardo Badowski in 1940, and his fourth wife, Grace Wissar, may have had Jewish ancestry. This complicated situation reflects the broader challenges of understanding actions and motivations during the tumultuous period of World War II. While the anti-Semitic articles remain a controversial aspect of Alekhine's legacy, his personal relationships and actions often contradicted the views expressed in these publications, suggesting a more complex reality than the written record alone might indicate.